Hello and welcome back to the Creator Commentary. Whoo boy, episode 2. Okay, so this one had a lot of different inspirations. I pulled from a lot of different places. So the main idea of like a train kind of going through, I guess, time in this big void came from another Torchwood story called Flight 405. And I really like that one. I think it was a very creative way to handle things, but I like trains, so leave me alone. Love trains are great. And I know what you're gonna ask in the comments, and the answer is no. Anyway, that was the first inspiration. The other one was the New York City Transit Museum. And I know that sounds crazy, but at the Transit Museum they have this platform where they store old train cars, and they're all lined up, you know, with different periods back to back. And that was kind of influencing my writing at the time, because I just recently gone. So I was like, okay, yeah, I could do that. The development wasn't nearly as bad as episode 2. My file system was a lot more organized, so it wasn't nearly as painful. And this was also my first time having more conversations with people outside of the main cast. And I think that's pretty difficult to tell, but both Hale and Storm never interacted with each other, or us. They had just gotten their lines, they recorded separately, and they sent me the audio files. And I think it turned out pretty good. I think the one problem I had was when I was halfway into editing the episode, I realized, oh my god, I'm missing like the entire half of a conversation worth of Storm's lines. So I was frantically messaging him. I was like, hey, I need you to record like now. And it turns out that he had them all. They were just on his hard drive, and they sounded really crappy, so I ran them through Adobe Podcast. Would recommend. It's actually a good AI tool. The other thing I want to talk about is the new track in the action scene. It's called Hot Seat Metalworks. That track came on very late in development, because I was looking at the action theme we had. I was like, okay, this is good, but it's a little bit repetitive if we use it over and over again. And Turquoise created Hot Seat Metalworks, which has 3 different stages. There's the first one, which sounds a lot like Rocking the Boat. And then the second one is very new, and it's pretty much just metal. It was an experience to listen to for the first time. And then the third section is kind of a reprise of the first one with a much heavier drum track to it. I'm not sure if that's the musical term. So this episode began as something later in the story. I think this is originally episode 7, because, I started with 4 episodes, as I mentioned in the last creator commentary. But when I branched out to 8, I had to come up with ideas, and this was originally episode 7. And then I decided, you know what, this would work perfect as an introduction story, because it's such a great mesh of Torchwood and Splatoon, and the entire conflict relies on this major error, which is my character forgetting to use the scanner. And I think it fit much better for that story. And also, episode 7 is now 1 part of 2. The season finale is 2 parts, so that changed. There's a little spoiler there for you. So while episode 1, sets up the basics of these characters and how this universe, works, episode 2 kind of gave me a chance to show off their team qualities in this Torchwood sphere a little bit more. So also something that is established in this episode that is purely just how I want this universe to work, because I can do whatever I want. This is my character in my universe, is that water burns Inklings / Octolings. That is important. I don't know if I dropped a hint about it in episode 1, but I want to establish that very clearly in episode 2. So they get fried. Their legs get fried because Turquoise broke the window with the back of a dapple dooley. And by the way, if you wonder what the back wire is, it's that very tiny little thin piece of plastic on the dapple. I'll highlight it in the edit, but it just seems so fragile to me, especially because I was looking on Etsy and I found this amazing looking recreation, but I'm so worried that I'd break the back because it looks so thin and fragile. And lastly, the one little anecdote I will leave behind for you is when I was casting, somebody came to me, and we're not going to name any names, somebody came to me and said, oh, hey, I have this friend who would probably love to play the captain. And I said, okay, sure, that sounds great. And then he follows up with, oh yeah, he's got a German accent. That would send a bit of a problematic message there. I think that would communicate something that is a little bit But I offered the role to Storm. I had such a hell of a time finding somebody for the captain. Hale was like the first person I turned to when I was doing casting. And I'm so glad that he decided to do the agent, because I think he nailed that role so perfectly. Out of all of the castings that I have done for this show, I have never found somebody who is willing to just go along with groaning into a microphone and giving it their all at the same time. When I got the first lines from him, it was very, very funny. I think if I end up having a character in another audio drama that needs to be slowly and painfully murdered, I'm gonna ring up Hale. It's gonna be really, really funny. Anyway, that is my creator commentary. I rambled on for a lot longer than I thought I would, but I had a lot to say about this episode because it is one of my favorites. Stay tuned for episode 3. I'm not gonna say much, but I will tell you, it is a weird one. Even by, like, Torchwood and Torchwood's Flatland standards, it is really weird. So yeah, bye-bye.